AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
Hour 2, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. I'm Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Muso. And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there, make it a good one. Former Saint Jon Stinchcomb, bottom of this hour. Talk about what the Saints have done in free agency. A little bit of a left turn here. Earlier today, we learned that the 3 reporters are suing LSU to gain access to public records on what LSU Athletics is paying student athletes via rev share. Attorney Scott Sternberg is representing Todd Horn, Piper Hutchinson, and Chris Nakamoto. And he's good enough to join us for a couple of minutes here. Scott, thank you for the time. How are you?
Hey, Matt, doing well. Thanks.
Sure, we do appreciate the time. Let's just start with kind of an obvious one. When did this first come across your desk as a possibility of representing these 3 reporters?
Well, you know, we've been hearing about this across the state where, you know, the state institutions are not willing to tell the public what they are paying student athletes to you know, perform on the field or on the court. And we've been working on it for a while. A number of reporters have been working on it for, I guess, since last legislative session, probably last fall. It's been kind of percolating.
Okay. So we're talking, it's conservatively 4 to 6 months, is fair to say?
Yeah, it's been a couple of months.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's interesting because one of the questions that I have is we know that athletics discloses an awful lot of information, salaries of coaches and other employees, but the student athletes aren't employees. So why then would these quote-unquote salaries have to be disclosed?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest thing is that the state is taking money that is taxpayer money or public money and paying it to someone but refusing to turn over the check. And we've never seen that before. If the state writes a check, we usually get to see the check, including how much the check is for. And so, I mean, I'm a fan of a number of sports at LSU, and I would like to know, as a citizen, how much we're spending on the football team last year. Who do we spend the most amount of money on? Are we paying our women's basketball team too? They're really good. I hope so. You know, where is that line and how much are we spending? And if it wasn't taxpayer money, public money, then I would be out of luck.
Scott, does it matter that athletics is self-sufficient? So as to say, these aren't funds that are coming from the state. This is revenue generated by the athletic department.
Well, I mean, it's really complex, actually, Matt. You know, some of that money did come from the state. It's directly appropriated, right? But, you know, about 4 months ago, Governor Landry was on your show. I was listening. You were in the manship on the Holiday Forum.
Yeah.
And you were asking him about Brian Kelly's contract, right? And he went on a rant, which I completely agree with, that the only person that ever had to pay that $57 million was the state of Louisiana. So I would push back on the idea that it's not our obligation or our money, because it is wonderful that LSU athletics makes money and pays for itself with self-generated revenue. We've heard that a number of times. That doesn't make it not state revenue. They wouldn't be there if we hadn't started it, in the 1800s with Williams and Cumps and Sherman, and all the money that the legislature's appropriated for the last 200 and some odd years, right? They wouldn't be there without the taxpayers.
That is, I 100% agree with you on that. The one part that I will push back and ask is, you said that there is money appropriated from the state for athletics. Do you know? And if you don't know, if you haven't looked, that's fine. But I've looked at the budget. I've never seen that. Do you know what money is appropriated from the state for athletics?
Yeah, I mean, look, I did not. I don't think I said appropriated LSU athletics. I mean, the LSU hasn't received appropriations by department in a long time. But LSU gets money appropriated by the legislature every year, sometimes more than others, right?
Yes.
And, there's no question that they are funded by our legislature, just like Louisiana Tech and UL Monroe. I've had a lot of people, I shouldn't have gone on social media, right? But everybody wants to know why we didn't sue ULM or Louisiana Tech. We'll sue them too.
Okay.
We're starting with LSU.
Did these reporters, why didn't you sue them?
Why didn't we sue them? Because it is.
If everyone's asking on social media, I'll ask on radio.
I don't mind you asking.
Yeah,
It's a good question.
Yeah.
We considered suing a number of universities.
Okay.
Frankly, LSU has really good lawyers. They've got good people that we're used to working with in the athletic department who understand that this is an actual question. Now, I don't think it's much of a question, but we've had a lot of experience with LSU. They're used to defending public records lawsuits. And let's be honest, they're the biggest show in town.
Sure.
There's a reason that we sued them, because people are especially interested in what happens with the money that LSU is appropriated and generates. And that is statewide. That's why we did it.
That's totally understandable. Do you know if these reporters did submit the records request at any other public universities in the state?
I do.
Did they?
Yes.
Okay, and those schools did not comply either?
In varying degrees, but yeah, pretty much. We were not able to see how much they were paying.
Did any schools let you know?
They gave us some cursory numbers, like we paid this much for. I don't want to reveal too much.
Sure.
Some of it's attorney-client, Matt, but
of course,
the reality is nobody knew what to do, and LSU is the leader in this area. And when they said no, everyone else said no too, I'm sure.
Sure. Is there, and Attorney Scott Sternberg is with us for a couple more minutes. I completely respect, and Scott, I said this earlier, I don't have a very hard and fast, well-informed opinion on this matter. So I'm not in any way trying to be standoffish. I'm legitimately just trying to learn more about all of this so I can make an educated opinion.
Yeah.
But you said earlier that people have an interest. I'm curious because I don't know how much public interest there is in how much the right tackle at Louisiana Tech makes. The answer may be that it just doesn't matter if people have an interest or not. If it's public record, it's public record. But do you get a sense in your work over the last 4 to 6 months with these reporters how much public interest there is?
I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm proud to say that I've represented a number of individuals against government in this state when they won't turn over public records. It doesn't matter if they're a left tackle at UL Monroe or Garrett Nussmeier. If they're receiving public funds, we get to see the check. It's the basis of everything that we have in transparency laws in this state, which we earned as citizens because we have been through a lot with our government since this state was founded. We know we have to check every now and then to see what they're spending the money on. It's not about the individual student athletes. They didn't do anything wrong. they have the same status here as any other person that receives public funds, just like the instructor at Southeastern does, or, my wife is a state employee, just like her salary is.
But you did mention one word, the operative word there is that your wife is a state employee, and the student athletes are not considered employees. So does that matter?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big question, Matt. That's why we filed this lawsuit. That's why LSU thinks it's justified, right? It's a whole new world. And I'm not going to tell you that the folks over at LSU are, completely unjustified in withholding. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we get to see the checks all the time.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've ever seen it where we did not get to see the money as it was spent. And NIL and rev share have opened up a whole new world in college sports. And this lawsuit is one of the first of its kind. We want to know how much these folks are being paid. When I worked at the Reveille in college, my salary was a public record.
Let's go. How much did you make?
I think it was $3,000 a semester or something.
Okay, that's not bad, man. You could do a lot of damage at Fred's with $3,000.
We bought a lot of beer with that.
Let's go. I tell you what, late nights covering LSU against Tech on the volleyball court, something like that, just so you could buy.
Yeah.
Jaeger at midnight, right?
1:30 at the old bogeys or Fred's. Yeah, sure.
Fred, that's a man. Play a little four corner salute, then a little thunderstruck and some Jaeger. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go, Fred. Shout out Jason Nay. Anyway, all right, Scott. We'll keep in touch on this. By the way, last thing, is there this is impossible to answer, but can you kind of give us a sense on a timeline on like what's next as far as the legal proceedings?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a very open process. We'll have a hearing in a couple of weeks, I expect. It'll be up to the judge. LSU knows that we filed suit. We sent them a copy. And, we'll see what happens. The judge will rule, and then, I'm sure the legislature will talk about it a little bit. And we'll see what happens. I'm hoping that we're successful.
He is attorney Scott Sternberg, representing Todd Horn, Piper Hutchinson, and Chris Nakamoto in their lawsuit. Try to get these rev share numbers released from LSU. Very much appreciate the time. Open invite if there's any development you want to talk about. You're welcome back. We appreciate the time.
Call me anytime, Matt. Appreciate you, man.
Will do. Thank you. It is After Further Review. We're brought to you by South Point Volkswagen, southpointvw.com. New and certified pre-owned in Baton Rouge and online at southpointvw.com, southpointvw.com. In the market for a vehicle, our friends over at South Point Volkswagen have great news. They got lots of vehicles. So if you want to buy a vehicle, they can sell you one. It's great. See how that works? You give them money, they give you a vehicle. At South Point Volkswagen, all different types of Volkswagens, but also in their pre-owned section, all different makes and models. So check them out online. You can shop new or certified pre-owned in Baton Rouge and online at southpointvw.com, southpointvw.com. Style, feel, performance of luxury without the cost, and among the safest vehicles on the road. That's what you get when you buy a Volkswagen. SouthPointVW.com, South Point Volkswagen. What's your direction? Okay, it is After Further Review, and we're glad you're hanging out with us here. Jon Stinchcomb in 15 minutes. Looking forward to that conversation. We'll talk to Stinch about some of the free agent moves the Saints have made. We'll knock out a break, come back. Jay Johnson did meet with reporters today, or Wednesday evening, before the team was wheels up to Nashville to take on Vanderbilt. Few high points from what Jay had to say that's next at AFR.
AFR.
Buying or selling, commercial or residential. Think real estate. Think Darren James. Agent225.com, agent225.com, agent225.com. Hey, remember, when you call Darren James and you hire him to sell your house, you have no risk. Really. Like, you can call Aunt Maud, the realtor, but if she don't sell your house, be really awkward around Thanksgiving table. With Darren, you don't have to worry about that. You sit down with Darren, he'll agree to a price and a deadline. If he doesn't sell your house at that price by that deadline, he'll have your home bought with cash or he'll sell it for free. Yes, you heard me right. He'll buy it with cash or he'll sell it for free. Learn more, have that conversation with Darren. 335-7666, 335-7666. 888-335-7666 or agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
The amount of success over a long period of time is pretty remarkable. Like, he's the best coach since Skip in college baseball, in my opinion. So, I do pay attention to it. I think what I admire is their attention to detail when you just watch them work on the field, commitment to fundamentals. They've obviously recruited at a high level for 2+ decades. And so, at least on my end, going that way, there's a ton of respect there.
Jay Johnson on Tim Corbin, and Corbin has had a pretty incredible run there at Vanderbilt, but they've had a tough start to this season. A little more what Jay Johnson had to say. I want to remind you, by the way, we're brought to you by Parrish Construction Roofing. Two things just really quickly. One, was over at the office earlier today. I'm fired up. We got the float we're decorating. We'll be in the Wearing of the Green Parade. So if you're going to be out at the Wearing of the Green Parade on Saturday in Baton Rouge, Paul, you can pull this up. We got some Parrish beads. Muse, what do you think of these? We got some Parrish beads. Look, Wearing of the Green.
I love a medallion bead.
How about this? Can you see what that is?
Is that sneakers?
Sneakers.
I like it.
With the Wearing of the Green medallion at the bottom.
Oh, that's strong.
That?
Yeah, I didn't see the medallion at the bottom. I like that. No, those are good. You're going to have a lot of people wanting those.
I went to there's another one. Look at all those beads right there.
So good, dude. I love parades.
I drove to Kenner today. Look, we're decorating the float. So the ladies were helping hold up the banner there on the side of the float. Rock Your Roof is on the side of the float. Fired up for this. I had to drive. I didn't have to, but I did. I drove to Kenner today because I needed some more throws. I dropped $1,000. I went a little crazy.
Bro, it's not hard, though.
It's really not.
It's not hard. Like, you get in there, you're like, oh, wait, this would be good. This would be good.
And I did spend $500 yesterday at a store in Baton Rouge that was pretty picked over. So in the last 24 hours, I've dropped about $1,500 on throws. In addition to all the stuff Parrish already had. Hats, cups, those beads you just saw. Point is, find the Parrish float. We're going to have a good time with lots of good stuff to throw you on Saturday at the Wearing of the Green Parade. The other big news is we made this announcement earlier today. Parrish has moved into Austin, Texas. We acquired a company called My Roof Pro in Austin. So we now have an Austin operation. So not only do we serve the state of Louisiana, but we now serve Austin, Texas as well. So tell those Texas Tigers, maybe you listen or watch online in Austin, got a roof issue, do business with someone you know. Parrish Construction Roofing now in Austin, Texas as well. All right, it's after further review, and we're glad you're hanging out with us here. Jay Johnson bringing his team on the road, and he was asked about the new players experiencing the SEC for the first time, and this really is my single biggest question. Like, I'm not worried about Evans, Moore, Schmidt this weekend. I'm more so worried about all the guys that are going to be getting their first taste of the Southeastern Conference and doing so away from the box.
They're excited about it, which it's a challenge. So it's like how you think about anything is going to determine whether you can have success in it. And I think it's coming at a good time for our team. I know that may be counterintuitive to the way everybody else thinks, and that's okay. But you like the fact that you have a group that has players that were successful in SEC play. You know, these guys won a lot of close games last year. So knowing how to navigate some of that, I think is positive. And I do want those guys to use those experiences to help the other guys out.
I sure hope so, man. You're ratcheting up the level of competition, but there's a lot of guys you're going to be counting on this year or this weekend who have not done it in SEC play. I mean, if it's Zach York, if it's Dardar, if Simpson gets out there, you're talking about dudes. I mean, even young guys like Aaron Beatty, who was a freshman a season ago, and had some moments for you, but is going to be starting on the road in conference play for the first time, by the way, on an all-turf field. That's why we talked about this when LSU played at UL Lafayette, why that was such a big deal, I thought, to go play on a turf field, because opening weekend in conference play, you're going to be playing at Hawkins Field, and now what's it like fielding a ball off instead of the dirt, the turf? You know, if there's, you know, a 56-foot breaking pitch that you got to block up. Well, you've experienced that now in Lafayette a couple of weeks or last week. And now you go on the road in conference play, not having seen that for the first time. But it'll be I'm super interested to see how some of these guys who are going to be tasting SEC play for the first time, how they manage. But, man, it's just so critical for LSU to get off to a good start. The next few weeks will be they all count the same in the league, right? But what you want to avoid is the fate of 2024, where you started 3-12. Now, in the second half of conference play, you went 10-5, and you dug yourself out of the hole, and you made the postseason, and you were blown save away from your best pitcher from winning that regional and hosting a super regional. So you can turn it on or turn it around, but boy, it's just when you're playing with a lead, when you're racing from the pole position, it's just easier. It's less stressful on everybody. So would love to see Evans Moore, you go out there and split those first two games. Schmidt gives you a decided advantage on pretty much every Sunday you play, which has been different, right? It's usually been win the first one behind Skeens and then split in the next two. Win the first one behind Anderson and split the next two. This is split the first two behind two really good pitchers, and you've got an ace in the hole sitting there in game 3 like nobody else has. So be a really educational weekend for this team against a Vanderbilt team that has struggled. You're 13-5, they're 11-7, having played comparable schedules to this point, and they've struggled mightily. You're deeper, more talented, but you got to go on the road, and we'll see how they handle it. All right, is after further review. Our Thursday shows are presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing, DecisionCriticalBR.com, DecisionCriticalBR.com. Always love telling you about Blazia and her team. They do awesome work. It's not just healthcare; it's healthcare for your lifestyle. DecisionCriticalBR.com. That's the website. But it's not just Baton Rouge. They have nurses that service the entire state of Louisiana, and now they have a Dallas office as well. And you might think, well, what do I need? Whatever you need, in-home nursing care. And they have packages set up where you can buy an hourly package, like how many you want, 10 hours a week, they have that package set up, or whatever it may be. Maybe it's for a day. Maybe it's continuing care over the course of several weeks or months. Maybe you've gotten a really tough diagnosis. Maybe it's hospice care. Maybe you're home with a new baby and you and your significant other, you need to sleep. Well, their nurses can come in home, take care of your baby while you sleep so you can be better during your waking hours. DecisionCriticalBR.com, DecisionCriticalBR.com. It's not just healthcare. It's healthcare for your lifestyle. All right, it's after further review. We're glad to have you hanging out with us here. You also do Tigers and the Pros at the here in about 20 minutes from right now. Chris Lee from Vandy Sports, or from Vandy 247, formerly Vandy Sports, will be with us in hour number 3. We will, whenever we get into these weekend series in the SEC, we will do sort of an opposing media preview. So we'll get someone who covers that team on with us on Thursdays to preview the weekend series ahead. Chris Lee has done an awesome job. I would put Chris, when you look around the SEC, the media the media that covers the league, in particular baseball, I think Hunt does an outstanding job. Chris Lee, I would put in that group. Chase Parham from Ole Miss, I would put in that group. I think David Cloninger at South Carolina does an outstanding job. It's not to say there aren't others, but there's a group who are very passionate about baseball, have covered this league and baseball in this league for a long time and do an outstanding job. Chris is one of those guys, definitively. So very much looking forward to having Chris on in about 45 minutes. We get a closer zoom-in view of this Vanderbilt baseball team here under Tim Corbin. That's 11-7 out the gate. Welcome into LSU. All right, it's after further review. Let me knock out a break. When we come back, former New Orleans Saint Jon Stinchcomb will be here. We'll get Stinch's take on David Edwards and what the Saints have done so far in free agency. That's next. It's AFR.
AFR.
If you're going to find your way downtown this weekend, of course, wearing the Green Parade is in sort of Mid-City area, or the South Downs area, Mid-City, South Downs. Maybe you're going to find your way downtown. Make sure you check out Watermark Baton Rouge. Maybe, here's an idea. Maybe go stay downtown this weekend at Watermark. Stay there Friday night, wake up Saturday, catch an Uber to your whatever convenient spot you think to catch the parade, then head back downtown to Watermark. You could have dinner at the Gregory, maybe a casual lunch at Milford's on 3rd, There's so many great restaurants and bars and sights to see in downtown Baton Rouge. It's going to be gorgeous this weekend. Sunny with a high of 77 on Saturday. My goodness. Go get a little staycation in downtown Baton Rouge at Watermark Baton Rouge. And remember, as always, got an event coming up. They'd love to host you. No matter the size, scale, scope, they'd love to host that event downtown at Watermark Baton Rouge. So call Allison Crump. She's the event coordinator. She'll help you get settled. It's Watermark Baton Rouge.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
Kellen Moore met with reporters here on Thursday. Jon Stinchcomb, former Saint, good enough to join us as we kind of knock around what the Saints have been doing so far. Very active in the early goings of this free agent period. Hey, John, thanks for the time. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Matt.
It's always our pleasure. Let me just get a reaction to what the Saints have done here in the first few days of free agency.
I think it's been great. I think they've been measured. Obviously, they haven't signed any blockbuster deals, but continue to fill a roster that needed some support. And, there's some losses along the way with some players that have signed elsewhere, but I like what I've seen from the additions so far.
We'll get to the subtractions in a second, but let's stay with the additions. The highest dollar item was David Edwards. That's got to be music to your ears as an offensive lineman. What do you know about Edwards and how you think he might fit in New Orleans?
I know this. I respect what Buffalo has done. I respect the fact that, I'm familiar with Aaron Cromer, who is the offensive line coach up there, and I'm sure there's a familiarity with the system that Edwards will have when he gets to New Orleans with Jari still being there, so there's going to be some carryover. But just watching him play, and I didn't see a ton of their games, but what I did see is a physicality that he brings to the table and the consistency that any offensive line is really looking for.
Hey, John, is there any concern? I guess there's always a concern whenever you sign any free agent, but he's about to be 29 years old. You signed to a multi-year deal. Any concern about age?
No, not yet. I mean, given at the end of this contract, you might have a little more concern, but having seen how he played this past season and understanding where he's at, I think obviously they have more comfort and familiarity with the player that they're getting than I do. But, guards these days can, I don't think there's any concern as they play into those early 30 years. Now, as New Orleans knows, we've had a couple players that played into those mid-30s that were still high-level contributors. So it takes a special breed once you get up into the 35, 36 range. But I think late 20s, early 30s, you still got a lot of tread left on those tires.
And by the end of that contract, the dead cap numbers is $5 million. So the cap hits are backloaded, but the dead cap number, you do get some relief later in the deal. So I think they did a smart thing with how they structured it. Okay, let's talk about some of the subtractions. None more notable than Demario Davis. Okay, I'll just give you the floor. What's your reaction to the Saints seeing Demario walk back to the Jets?
It's an end of an era. It's sad because he offered obviously superior play on the field, but the leadership in the locker room and in the community will leave a lasting mark. And he's one of those players that any franchise would have been thrilled for the opportunity to kind of build synergy, and has been a cornerstone for the Saints in some years that might not always be as rewarding at the end of the year as they could be. But yet there's players that have held us to a higher standard, and Demario has been that guy. He hadn't been alone, but his level of play and just the man that he is exactly what any organization would be hoping for. So it's hard to see a player like that walk out the door especially when he goes back to a place that he was familiar with. And, I know age is a factor, and so is money always. But just to see that chapter is coming to a close, I think is a sad day for all Saints, and just appreciative of the mark that he's left on the organization.
When you talk about that all-encompassing, both the leadership and the play on the field, considering he's coming off literally, John, the most productive season of his career, was
some guys are just timeless, and there's a couple on that roster from last season that really stick out. And DeMario, he's sipping from that same fountain of youth that Cam might be. That despite the fact that his age would defy odds, you look at it and see the performance on the field and how special he's been.
Do you think it was the right decision?
Oh, man, what a tough one, Matt. I hate to see anybody of his caliber go. That wouldn't be an easy decision to make, but I would be hard-pressed to let a player like DeMario walk out the door without a contested fight. And, maybe there was one that I'm not aware of behind closed doors. But, I think anytime you let a player like DeMario, who is still performing at a high level, and the character that he brings behind the scenes and the leadership that he offers in the locker room, I would be hard-pressed to let him walk away.
Well, they replaced DeMario with Caden Ellis, and Alvin Kamara, we'll see what the future is for AK, but bringing in Etienne certainly means if Kamara's back, he'll take on a lesser role. Let's talk about what they added here with Ellis and Etienne. John, how do you sort of look at that gap, right? But from DeMario Davis to Caden Ellis, what step down, improvement, about the same? Like, how would you sort of assess that transition from DeMario to Caden Ellis?
I don't think it's one for one. I'll say that. I appreciate what Caden has done with his career and the insurgence, not even a resurgence, but the insurgence of high-quality play that he had in Atlanta. We got to see that twice a year. So impactful player that I think started to figure out what his role should be at the NFL level. And hopefully with his return to New Orleans and returning to a new system, although he's familiar with New Orleans and the organization, the system in which he's stepping into is much different than the one he left. So hopefully it's a really good fit for the skill set that he was able to utilize and highlight with his time in Atlanta. But it's not a one-for-one trade-off. Trying to replace a guy like DeMario and what he brought to the team would be tough shoes for anyone to fill. We've talked about it already, but he did a heck of a lot more than just play linebacker on Sundays. So there's going to be a leadership gap and that veteran presence in the locker room that there's a void when someone like DeMario leaves, that the expectation is you can certainly replace aspects of his game on the field, hopefully with Caden, but to think that he's going to be able to fill that same space of leadership and the commitment that he's made to just lifting all ships related to the Saints, I think would be a tall ask for anyone.
Yeah. John, I think you and I are in lockstep. I love what the Saints have done in free agency, except letting DeMario Davis leave. It's not, and that's not a commentary on Caden Ellis. They let a super productive leader walk out of the building. I get 37, but my goodness, he's incredible.
Yeah. So I get that you get an opportunity to get a younger player, and maybe he's got more tread on the tires, and there's a lot of truth to that. But there are a few players that are as impactful just across the board that create synergy among your team like a guy like DeMario does. So I think it's unrealistic and probably not the ask on the table for Caden to step in that entire role. But, if you were to separate them out and say on the field you're getting a high-performing linebacker that's coming in town, and Caden Ellis that's young and can be helpful to this defense, I think there's some excitement there. And, you combine him with some pieces that are already in place. Stutzman comes to mind as another young player that certainly had his flashing moments in his rookie season. That maybe there's a group mentality and group approach that you can produce the same level of impact on the field, knowing that there's still going to be a void in leadership that will have to be filled in other ways in the locker room.
Jon Stinchcomb's our guest. I got two more, John. One, this is a little football nerdy, but you said something that kind of sparked it. You were talking about Caden Ellis coming from Atlanta. I guess you're right. I mean, this team got to watch, not only they draft him, but they got to see him twice a year in Atlanta. But you talked about going from the system in Atlanta to what he's going to be asked to do in Brandon Staley's defense. Can you elaborate on how you think that might differ from what he was doing to what he's going to be asked to do?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think early on they were trying to figure out the best ways to get him on the field. And, and what I remember in his Saints days is him being more impactful as a special team player than a every down linebacker. You saw a rotation at times as being a pass rusher and came across as a little undersized at times. And what you saw in Atlanta was them to kind of find that role, whether it was off the ball and him being able to use that athleticism, but still rush the passer more as that fifth player and that dog situation. So I think with this transition and him being more of a vet as he comes back, you know what he does really well. You've scouted him for the past, 3 years while he was away from the other side. So you know his strengths and weaknesses, and you can utilize that to your advantage and fit that into the system that's in place now.
Last thing for you, John. What else do they need, either in free agency or the draft? What do you see as the biggest needs?
Well, I mean, obviously replacing a guy like Alontae Taylor, the transitions that have occurred really in the cornerback room more than anything. Secondary is always a piece where if you can get some impactful players, it will help that entire defense. And then another playmaker on the edge, somebody to assist, share the load with an aerial attack, and that sophomore campaign for Shuck. So I think there's a couple places on the edges where you can add some athleticism, a little speed, that would certainly help.
He is Jon Stinchcomb, former Saint. Great. Good enough to join us here, talk a little free agency. I'm sure we'll bother you again at some point during the offseason, man. But we always appreciate a couple of minutes. Thank you.
Enjoyed it.
All right, man. Be well. It's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Rouse's.com. Rouse's.com. Remember, tomorrow is a Friday in Lent, so if you're abstaining from meat, remember, Rouse's has in-house seafood. Gulf Coast local fish. I love this so much. I remember having this conversation with Marcy and with Donnie and Tim and some of my friends over at Rouse's several years ago. They take so much pride in sourcing local when they can. Despite the fact that Rouse's has 76 locations now, they still have handshake deals with fishermen that they source from. Like, it's incredible that despite their scale and scope, they're still able to do that. But that's their commitment to the people who have sourced them, from whom they sourced for all these years. Just awesome. Look at that. Salmon, shrimp scampi, Louisiana crab claw meat, all their in-house seafood if you need it. Of course, boiled crawfish, boiled in-house daily. Rouses.com is where you can go to the website to learn more. Always encourage you to check out the Facebook page. Posted this earlier. I mean, they boil every day at their in-house boiling rooms. This isn't brought in from anywhere. 76 locations. All of them have in-house boiling rooms every single day. You'll see them with the hats and the aprons. The Rouse's boiling crew, they got them. So get on by, snag you some crawfish, some hot boiled crawfish from your local Rouse's, Rouses.com. Rouse's, this feels like home. Okay, y'all. Thursday show's presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. We're going to knock out a break. Come back. Usually do Tigers in the pros. We just talked to Stinch. But earlier today, Kay Nellis and David Edwards and Ray Wright. It was not Ray Wright. It was Ryan Wright. Ray Wright was an outfielder at LSU. He's an awesome dude. I consider Ray a friend. Ryan Wright is a punter who I've never met, but hope to soon and wish him well. And he's really rich now, so good for him. We will get to that coming up after the top of the hour. Chris Lee from Vandy 247. Ton to do. Glad you're here at
AFR.
Get Gordon. Get it done. Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. You've been injured in an accident. Not your fault. Do what injured people in our state have done for decades. Get Gordon. Get it done. You can always go to getgordon.com. Getgordon.com. I would encourage you, if you're interested, you can go to the website, getgordon.com, and at the top of the page, there's testimonials. If you click that, like some of the dollar amounts might be jarring because there's some very large settlement amounts. But maybe what's more important is to understand the types of cases. So go to getgordon.com, and you'll see the testimonials at the top. And you'll see the types of cases that they've handled and some of their settlements and what they've been awarded there for their clients. I mean, over the course, the lifetime of the firm, more than $3 billion in damages recovered for their clients. It's Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. So go to getgordon.com, getgordon.com. Get Gordon, get it done.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
We always appreciate Blasia and the great team over at Decision Critical. I always encourage you, if you're a physician as well, you should be referring your patients to Decision Critical. If you want to have a one-on-one sit-down with Blasia to learn more about their nurses, their process, how they can carry out your orders in the home, in the hospital, whatever it may be, have that discovery call with Blasia over at Decision Critical. Decision Critical Concierge Nursing, decisioncriticalbr.com. Wrapping up hour number 2, Muse, Tigers in the pros.
Tigers in the pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
We will start with the World Baseball Classic. Aaron Nola did the job.
Let's go.
Last night in Houston. Remember, there's a 65 pitch limit, right? In this round,
yep.
You can start a batter and finish it. Like if you start at 64 and you can finish. Aaron Nola got through 5 innings. I mean, he was peak efficient. Aaron Nola, curveball looked great. 5 shutout frames, 4 hits, 1 walk, 5 punch outs. He got the win. He's 1-0 now. Huh?
Pow, pow.
Oh, he's 1-0 now in the World Baseball Classic. And Italy, 9-1 over Mexico last night.
Hey, Italiano, Nola. Hey, Italia.
They mentioned on the broadcast that Austin Nola was also supposed to play for Team Italy, but instead he accepted a job with the Seattle Mariners, so he's coaching now. That's an update on Austin Nola. I was about to say, you want to get one more in there? Tommy White wore the collar 0 for 3, punched out today. Josh Smith in that same game is 0 for 2. He has scored a run, reached via walk. Naz Reid
should have stayed.
18 points off the bench last night to go along with 3 boards. It's not bad. 8 of 15 from the floor. And Tari Eason dropped 8 and 8 in a starting role with the Rockets. That's Tigers in the pros.
Remember when people thought Naz Reid shouldn't have gone to the pros?
I do.
Idiots.
It feels like just yesterday.
We're brought to you by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, LMFJ.com. LMFJ.com. That's Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. They're the best. They really are the best. If you've never been into a Lee Michaels, you need to. Maybe you have a special event coming up, anniversary. Look, a lot of people get married in the spring because the weather's beautiful. So it means your anniversary is going to be in the spring. So if you have an anniversary coming up, remember Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Thrill her with a gift in the red box. Incredible. LMFJ.com. Look, walk into the store. A lot of people have been in that situation before. You walk in, there's this disheveled chap pulling out a calculator, crunching numbers, trying to show you what a great deal you're going to get, all the money you're going to save. Yeah, that doesn't feel great. It's not like they're giving the guy next to you the better deal. Go to Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. There's something to be said for walking into a place and it's packed. You know what I mean? It's like you never want to walk into an empty restaurant. That's probably a pretty good indicator of, you know what I mean? Like, you go into an empty restaurant, Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Thrill her with a gift in the red box. Or him, ladies. LMFJ.com. LMFJ.com. Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Lafayette, Shreveport, all over 9 locations. Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Okay, y'all, it is after further review. We're glad to have you hanging out with us here. 20 minutes. We'll preview LSU Vanderbilt with Chris Lee, covers Vanderbilt, has for a long time. When we come back, the big ticket free agent item for the New Orleans Saints, David Edwards. He met with reporters earlier today, as did Caden Ellis. Hear from them. And if you missed it, Willie Wade was asked about the LSU job today after NC State was ousted from the ACC tournament. You'll hear what the general had to say after that game. That's all coming up in Hour 3 of AFR, presented by Decision Critical.
After further review.
We're brought to you by the Williamson Eye Center. 924-2020, 924-2020. You want to see 2020? Call 924-2020 for the Williamson Eye Center, 924-2020. Remember, no matter your age or refractive issue, they have a procedure for you, okay? So for me, I was nearsighted, right? I mean, now, that's using that term loosely because I could barely see my hand in front of my face. LASIK was perfect for me. And maybe you had an optometrist tell you that you're not a candidate. Well, I would still go see Dr. Blake because I was told that for a long time. Turns out I was a perfect candidate for LASIK. An ophthalmologist might have a different opinion. So go see Dr. Blake. And maybe it's not LASIK. Maybe it's EVO ICL. That's the implantable contact lens. That's an alternative to LASIK. Maybe it's PRK. Maybe it's the custom lens replacement. There's options, and the Williamson Eye Center has them. WilliamsonEye.com.